Welcome back to Talk About It in English, where we help you survive real-life conversations. I am going to put you in a high-pressure situation right now to see how your brain reacts. Imagine you are in a meeting, listening carefully and understanding about 80%, when suddenly the music stops, the boss looks directly at you and asks, "So, what do you think we should do?" Your heart stops, your mind goes blank, and the silence starts getting louder and louder.
I know this panic so well because I used to terrify myself in university seminars. I remember once a professor pointed at me and asked for my opinion on a text I had actually read, but the pressure was so sudden that I completely froze, panicked, and pretended to have a coughing fit just to buy myself 5 seconds to think because I was terrified of saying the wrong thing.
You do not need to be perfect immediately. You just need to buy time. Today, I will teach you 3 professional phrases that make you sound smart while you think, so you never have to freeze again.
This is such a critical topic because that moment of silence is where most English learners lose their confidence. It is not that they don't know the answer. It is that the shock of the question disconnects their brain from their mouth.
Exactly. It is a physiological reaction. When we get nervous, our fight or flight response kicks in. Your brain thinks that the question from your boss is a tiger attacking you, so your brain shuts down the language center to save energy for running away. That is why you go blank.
And the worst part is the perception of time. When you are the one standing there in silence, 3 seconds feels like 3 hours. You feel like everyone is staring at you, judging your English, and waiting for you to fail.
But here's the secret. To the other people in the room, 3 seconds is just 3 seconds. It is nothing. Native speakers pause all the time to think. The difference is how they pause.
Right. If a native speaker pauses, they look thoughtful. They look like they are considering the complexity of the issue. But often, when a learner pauses, they look terrified. They look down at the table, or they start making that dreaded sound.
We want to eliminate the That sound signals to the listener that you are confused or lost. It lowers your status in the conversation. We want to replace that sound with active, professional filler phrases.
These are tools. Think of them as a bridge. You are on one side of the river, which is, I heard the question. The answer is on the other side of the river, but you don't have the words yet. You need a bridge to walk across so you don't fall into the water.
I love that analogy. We are going to build that bridge with 3 specific strategies today. We will start with the easiest one and move to the most advanced one. The first strategy is called the repeater.
The repeater. This sounds simple, but it is incredibly effective. How does it work?
It is exactly what it sounds like. You simply repeat the key word or phrase from the question, but you do it in a thoughtful, verifying tone.
So if the boss asks, "Do you think the deadline is realistic?"
You would simply say, "The deadline." You nod slowly, maybe look up slightly, and say, "The deadline."
That is brilliant because it accomplishes 2 things at once. First, it confirms you heard the question. You are telling the boss, "I am listening." Second, it buys you about 2 seconds of processing time.
Exactly. And those 2 seconds are usually enough for your panic to subside and your vocabulary to kick in. It creates a small buffer.
The tone is really important here, isn't it? You can't say it with a confused face like, "The deadline?" because then it looks like you didn't understand the English.
Correct. The intonation should be flat or slightly falling, indicating deep thought. It's not "the deadline," it's the deadline. You are showing that you are weighing the concept in your mind. Let's try another example. Imagine a colleague asks, "What is the budget for this project?" You could say, "The budget." You stretch the word out just a little bit. The budget. And while you are saying that word, your brain is frantically searching for the number or the sentence you need. Precisely. It signals to the room, "I am thinking about the budget," not "I don't know the word for budget." It protects your professional image. This is a great level 1 strategy because it requires 0 new vocabulary. You just use the words they gave you. You are essentially borrowing their English to build your answer. It is the safest place to start. If you are ever completely stuck, just echo the last distinct noun they used. The marketing plan, the new client. It gives you air.
Okay, so once we have mastered the repeater, what is the next level?
The next level is the softener. This is my absolute favorite strategy for business meetings because it not only buys time, but it also increases your emotional intelligence score.
A softener validates the question before answering it. It makes the other person feel good about asking it.
Yes. Instead of jumping straight into facts, you comment on the quality of the question. A classic phrase here is, "That is a really important question."
That is a really important question. That takes about 3 seconds to say. That is 3 seconds of pure gold when you are trying to translate your thoughts.
And notice what it does to the atmosphere. If I ask you something difficult and you say, "That is a really important question," I feel validated. I feel like you respect me. And because I feel respected, I am willing to wait a few more seconds for your answer.
It removes the tension. If you just sit there in silence, the tension rises. But if you fill the silence with a compliment to the question, the tension drops.
Another great variation of this is, "I am glad you brought that up."
I am glad you brought that up. That is very natural. I use that all the time, even when I don't need to buy time.
It is a standard native speaker habit. We use it to transition between topics. But for a learner, it is a safety net. Imagine the boss asks, "Why are sales down this month?" That is a scary question.
If I answer immediately with, "Because the market is bad," it sounds defensive. It sounds aggressive.
But if you say, "I am glad you brought that up,"
It gives me a moment to breathe. It calms the room down. And then I can say, "Because we have been analyzing the market trends."
exactly. It makes you sound like a leader. A leader considers the question before firing back an answer.
Are there any shorter versions of this? Sometimes "I am glad you brought that up" might feel too long for a casual chat.
You can keep it simple. "That is an interesting point." Or even just, "That is a great question."
That is a great question. Be careful not to use this for simple things though, right? If someone asks, "What time is it?" and you say, "That is a great question."
Yes, please do not do that. That would be very strange. Use the softener for questions that require an opinion, an explanation, or a complex thought. Do not use it for factual questions like your name or the time.
So we have the repeater, the deadline, and we have the softener. That is a really important question. What is the third strategy?
The third strategy is the most advanced, but it is also the most powerful. It is called the bridge.
The bridge. This sounds like it connects two things.
It connects the silence to your answer. The bridge is a phrase that starts a sentence structure before you know how the sentence will end.
This is scary for learners. They usually want to construct the whole sentence in their head perfectly before they open their mouth. You are suggesting they start speaking before they are ready.
Yes, that is the only way to speak fluently in high-pressure situations. You have to trust that your brain will find the words if you give it a running start.
It's like jumping off a diving board. You have to jump first and then figure out the dive on the way down.
A perfect example of a bridge phrase is, "From my perspective."
From my perspective. When you say, "from my perspective," you are signaling to the room that an opinion is coming. You are claiming the floor. You are saying, "Do not interrupt me. I am about to speak." And usually, by the time you finish saying, "from my perspective," your brain has found the opinion.
Exactly. Another very common bridge is, "Well, looking at it from this angle."
Well, looking at it from this angle. That is a nice chunk of language. That buys you maybe 4 seconds.
And it sounds so sophisticated. Compare these two scenarios. Scenario A, the boss asks, "What do you think?" You say, I think it's good."
A bit weak, a bit unsure.
Scenario B, the boss asks, "What do you think?" You say, "Well, looking at it from this angle, I think it's a positive step."
It is night and day. Scenario B sounds like a manager. Scenario A sounds like an intern.
The meaning is the same. The core message, "It is good," didn't change, but the framing, the bridge, changed how the message was received.
Another one I hear a lot is, "in terms of."
Yes, in terms of X. This is great when you need to narrow down a big topic. If someone asks, "How is the project going?" That is too big. You can use the bridge to focus. "Well, in terms of the timeline, we are on track."
In terms of the timeline.
So you use the bridge to steer the conversation towards the vocabulary you actually know. That is a pro tip. If you know the words for timeline, but you don't know the words for budget, use the bridge to talk about the timeline. You are in control.
Before we combine these into a full simulator, I want to take a quick pause to talk about why we are doing this.
It is not just about tricking people into thinking you are fluent.
No, absolutely not. It is about confidence. When you subscribe to this channel, you are not just learning grammar rules. You are learning how to occupy space in English. You are learning how to be yourself, just in a different language.
That is really it. If you enjoy these kinds of practical, psychological strategies for speaking, make sure you are subscribed. We release videos every week that focus on the human side of English, the nerves, the social dynamics, and the real-life skills you need to survive.
And hitting that subscribe button helps us know that this is the kind of content you need. So let's get back to the bridge. I want to give one more example because this one is a lifesaver when you really truly do not know the answer.
Oh, the I don't know bridge?
Yes, sometimes you honestly need to check your notes. You don't want to say, I don't know. You want to say, let me double check that for you.
Let me just double check my notes. That is a bridge too.
It is an action bridge. You are narrating your action. Let me just pull up the file. Or let me just verify those numbers.
I use this all the time on Zoom calls. I say, bear with me 1 second while I load the data. I am not loading data. I am panicking and trying to find the answer. But to them, it sounds like I am being thorough.
And that is the key. You remain in control. The silence is not awkward silence. It is working silence.
So we have 3 tools now: the repeater, the softener, and the bridge. Can we mix them?
You absolutely should mix them. In fact, stacking them is the ultimate native speaker move.
Stacking them. So you use 2 or 3 in a row?
Let's try it. I'm the boss. I'm going to ask you a really hard question. I want you to use a repeater, then a softener, then a bridge.
Okay, I am ready, I think.
James, do you think we should fire the marketing agency?
The marketing agency? That is a very serious question. From my perspective, we need to look at their performance first.
Wow, that was perfect. Let's break down what just happened.
First, I used the repeater, the marketing agency. That bought me my first breath.
Then you used the softener. That is a very serious question. That acknowledged the gravity of the situation and showed respect.
And finally, I used the bridge, from my perspective, which led into my actual answer.
And the amazing thing is, James, you didn't actually answer the question yet. You just said we need to look at performance. You bought yourself almost 10 seconds of speaking time before you had to give a real opinion.
And those 10 seconds allowed me to calm my heart rate down. If I had tried to answer immediately, I probably would have stuttered or used the wrong tense.
Exactly. You bought yourself calm, and calm speakers are fluent speakers.
This stacking technique is really useful for presentations too, if someone asks a question from the audience that catches you off guard.
Yes, the timeline for 2025. I am glad you asked about the future. Looking at our current projections, you just flow through the tools until you find your footing.
I think a lot of learners worry that this sounds fake. They worry that people will notice they are just using filler.
Here is the reality check. Listen to a recording of 2 native speakers having a business meeting. Really listen. You will hear these phrases everywhere. We do not speak in perfect, dense paragraphs of information. We use repeaters, softeners, and bridges constantly.
We just don't notice it because it sounds natural. When a learner does it, they feel self-conscious, but to the listener, it just sounds like conversation.
The only way it sounds fake is if you say it like a robot. If you say, that is a good question, with 0 emotion, yes, that is weird. You have to mean it.
You have to act a little bit. Put some curiosity in your voice. That is an interesting point.
Use your face. Nod. Furrow your brow slightly. Show that you are engaged. Communication is 50% words and 50% body language and tone.
Let's talk about the danger zone. Are there any phrases people use to buy time that they should stop using?
Yes. The biggest enemy is the apology loop.
Oh, I hate the apology loop. Sorry, my English is bad. Sorry, I need time. Sorry.
Never apologize for needing time to think. Thinking is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. When you say, sorry, my English, you are drawing a big red circle around your insecurity.
You are inviting them to judge you.
Exactly. If you need more time than a bridge can buy, just be direct. Let me take a moment to think about that.
Let me take a moment to think about that. That is a power move. It shows so much confidence.
It says, I'm going to give you a high-quality answer, so I'm going to take the time required to formulate it. No apology needed.
Another one to avoid is the translation mumble. You know when people whisper in their native language while looking for the English word?
Yes, keep the internal monologue internal. If you are muttering in your first language, you are breaking the connection with the English speaker. Keep eye contact. Use a repeater. Stay in the room.
So to recap, Stop apologizing. Stop muttering. Start repeating, softening, and bridging.
I want to give our listeners a specific challenge to practice this, because if you just listen to this video, you will forget it by tomorrow. You need to get these phrases into your mouth.
Muscle memory is key. What is the challenge?
I want you to write one of these phrases on a sticky note. Let's pick a softener. That is an interesting point.
That is an interesting point. Okay, I have it written down.
Stick that note on your computer monitor or on your bathroom mirror. Somewhere you will see it.
And then?
For the next 24 hours, try to use that phrase at least 3 times. Use it in English if you can, but even if you are speaking your native language, try to translate the concept. Get used to the rhythm of validating a question before answering.
And if you have an English meeting or a lesson this week, make it your mission to use that sticky note phrase once. Just once.
Even if you have to force it a little bit, even if the question isn't that interesting, say it anyway. That is an interesting point. Break the habit of immediate silence.
Once you break the seal, it gets easier. You will start to realize how much control it gives you.
And then, once you have mastered the softener, write a new sticky note for a bridge. From my perspective.
Build your toolkit one phrase at a time. You don't need to memorize all 10 phrases we mentioned today. Just pick one.
That is the best way to learn. Deep focus on one tool until it becomes automatic.
I really wish I had known about the repeater back in university. I wouldn't have had to fake that coughing fit.
We live and we learn. And remember, everyone freezes sometimes, even native speakers. The goal is not to never freeze. The goal is to know how to melt the ice.
I love that. Melt the ice with a softener.
So try the sticky note challenge. Let us know in the comments which phrase you are going to use first. I personally recommend that is a really important question. It works like magic.
It really does. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, your voice deserves to be heard, so take the time you need to find it.
See you in the next episode. Bye for now.